Hello and welcome to Real Estate and the Adventures of Parenthood. And today I have Blake de Pastino. Hi, Blake.
Podcast because I don't know anything about real
So
estate.
this is a real estate, but it talks about a little bit of everything. So what I love about it is the real estate and the adventures of parenthood. So then that means it's just like I get to talk about dating, parenthood, um, growing your business, mindset, perspective, anything and everything I want. So since I'm single and I've been single for a while, I just like to, just talk about relationships, divorce, parenthood, mainly most likely relationships and things that are entertaining, like, hey, let's see if we can actually slide into people's DMs on Facebook and TikTok and Instagram.
It's a thing. Yeah. There are times where people have DM me they'll slide to my DMs on TikTok and then they'll find me on Instagram and they'll start sending me pictures and they're like, so are you interested or what? I'm like, interested in what exactly? This isn't Tinder, this is TikTok. But people treat it like it's a dating app. And actually, I met you before we started recording. I was talking about a relationship that I was in. It was like the first really serious relationship after my divorce. And it was a little over a year with a really delightful woman. And she saw me on TikTok and hunted me up, tracked me down on Instagram and contacted me. And that's how we met. So functionally, maybe TikTok is a dating app now. I don't know.
I mean, the majority of the guys that I've met on TikTok have been through TikTok, actually. I mean, I had been out of dating apps for a while and I just recently got myself in, before we started recording, because I'm going on this trip and I'm like, you know what? I just want to meet people. Let me see who I can actually meet up, because it's good, especially when you're going out of the country. They will show you local places and all that. And ooh, we can do this and hang out with the locals. And I did the same thing in Iceland. And no, people, I do not hook up out of the country. But it's most likely just friendship, developing friendship. But no, I mean, I was kind of talking to this guy that I told you, and it was through TikTok. I saw him on TikTok, and yeah. So it
happens
sliding through DMs. I mean, I have probably over 50 messages on TikTok that I'm like, I just delete them all. I don't even bother with them, because now TikTok has this function of, even though you don't follow them and they don't follow you, or they follow you and you don't follow them, they can still send you messages. But it's just message.
Right. It used to be like that. In 2020 was like that, and then they took it away, I think wisely, but now they brought it back.
Oh, I did not.
So now it's a free for all.
Oh, great.
That's why everyone's DMs are jammed now.
Yeah, so now I'd have my Instagram. The one that I have is my real estate Instagram attached to my TikTok. I don't have the podcast one attached, which I should actually attach that one versus this. I don't know. But anyways, I have two different Instagram accounts. But no, that's the thing about TikTok nowadays. It's just people slide into DMs. If you saw my Facebook page, there's one that's called Real Estate and the Adventures of Parenthood. I probably have over 100 DMs on that one. And I'm like, it's a thing.
Yeah, I get it. And I don't know, there's nothing wrong with it, It's just another way of meeting people. How did people meet before social media, And the thing with me was, it was strange because my content, if you've seen any of it, a lot of it is about what we're talking about. It has to do with relationships, dealing with divorce and breakups, and especially how that kind of dovetails with my own mental health journey and what I've learned about myself through working on mental health and my relational capacity and sort of issues and hangups, attachment styles, like we were talking about before we started recording. Really important, crucial things. And so just my content is mostly about me sharing that journey. And so the thing is, when people contact me through TikTok, and assuming that they have consumed some of my content, they already know me better than I know them. You know what I mean? And I think that was for this relationship that I was in a couple of years ago. It created this sort of false sense of intimacy between us because I talk a lot about a lot of personal, intimate stuff, and she had seen it and it resonated with her. And, she was impressed that there was a guy who would talk about his feelings, blah, blah, which I think is still surprisingly rare. And so I had to catch up to get to know her, but she already knew enough about me to have beginning forming opinions about me. You know what I mean? Um, and it's, then there's a question of like, well, how much of the me that you see on TikTok is the real me? How much of it is like maybe performative, or because I kind of script out my content, or at least I think about it in advance and I do it in several takes. And so it's not like 100% the way I am in real life, but I think just we as, I don't know, as people who use social media, and I'm older than you, I'm 53. But like people of my generation, we're kind of navigating how to find out what's real and what's perceived when you're interacting with someone online,
I mean, because so my whole thing is I kind of so I'm a content creator too. Um, you have more following than I do. I have like almost 29,000 followers on TikTok. And it's just like, I talk about real life experiences. Like when I got divorced, when I went through my breakup, I was like lost. But then again, a lot of people can relate through that. And it's just like, a lot of people tell me, hey, you put everything on social media, but I don't script things. I don't put things like, I don't think about the content that I'm going to make. I just make it. And I'm just like, then I just post it. And it's just like, okay, but a lot of people can relate with you. But now I'm just like,
Yeah.
kind of looking back, sitting back and be like, okay, what do I really want to post out there? Because not everything you see on social media, it is true. I mean, in my case, I am authentic. I'm one of those creators that's like, hey, look at me, people. Yeah. But
yeah.
But I don't do it because of attention. I do it as motivation, inspiring, and actually educating people in all levels. It could be real estate, it could be parenthood. Like, hey, you know what? The other day I realized, because I'm a single mom and their dad lives out of state, it's just like, darn it, I'm sick and I can't take my kids to school because I'm throwing up. So what do I do now?
Yeah.
I mean, and then these are like these little circumstances that we don't think as, is anybody else going through the same situation? What do you do like this? And especially with relationships. I mean, like you said, like you were explaining to me, like the no contact and the ghosting. So there's the no contact, the ghosting, and knowing your self-worth, knowing when to walk away.
Yeah. It is difficult. It's one of the hardest things I've had to do recently, anyway, is to go no contact with an ex, just because like she was an ex, but we weren't acting like it. And so I had to, in order to sort of preserve my own mental clarity and also, frankly, my dignity, I just couldn't be strung along. And also, to be fair to her, I was stringing her along as well, because we're circling around each other for months, until she finally revealed that she actually was dating, and kind of intentionally left that out of the conversation for a long time. And I'm like, oh, well, I need to move on, and I can't while I'm doing this. I think that's really what it was.
So I have,
but the other thing about being a content creator is like, I started dating a woman I met on Hinge in like mid-February, who's just we were talking about attachment styles, and it's so far, I think, the most secure relationship that I've been in. It's not going to work. We've realized that it's not going to work out because I'm more commitment focused than she is right now, which is terrible. But we have a great connection. And my point, I do have one, is like, rather than feeling like she got to know me when we met because she consumed all my content, we met on Hinge, and then she like Googled me and watched all my stuff and used my content to kind of vet me to make sure that I was like, so she knew what I was going through, but she got a sense of who I was, at least on social media. And then, again, that raises the question of like, how authentic is it? I try to be as, authentic as possible. Genuine, I guess, might be a better word. And like for us, that was a useful tool. She is a therapist, and like most, including my own therapist, I don't know any therapists who use social media at all, which is a really interesting phenomenon. So she's on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, whatever. Like you Google her and nothing comes up.
That's awesome.
It's really kind of like, for the first couple of dates, I thought maybe she was an assassin. Like, who else? Why would anyone else live this way unless they're hiding from, I don't know, the CIA?
Usually the guys that I talk to usually have like don't have social media. But the guy that I was talking to, he has a large following. He's all over social media. And that kind of like intimidated me a little bit. Not intimidated me, because I know he follows me on social media. I know he sees my stuff. I know it's because whenever I post stories, he sees my stories. And it was like, crap, now I have to be careful with what I say. And it's just like, as a content creator, like, do I really want to post this or not? What is he going to think about me? So,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
it's just like, not only that, but I also have a book. So it's just like, so I'm an author as well. And I'm like, do I really want him to look at my social media and post like, so then it's just like, it becomes a little bit like you're more self-aware of what you post.
Yeah. And part of me thinks, I don't know, this is really like only the second relationship I've been in since my divorce, and I was divorced 3 years ago. Is that right? Yeah. Um, Part of me thinks that I need to ask these folks to sign like a waiver so they understand that like after we break up, I might make content about our relationship. Like I won't use you, but I won't name you, I won't call you out, but like I'm going to learn stuff from this relationship, and you're going to show up on my feed in my content feed.
Be like, do not follow me if you.
And you're going to see something, and you're going to know I'm talking about you, and not all is going to be good.
I've had,
you know.
yeah, and that's one of the things. Is just like, as a content creator, how do you go ahead and know when is the right time to talk about these things? Because it's just like, for me, like knowing the guy that I was talking to was like, okay, I like the time that I would be with him, I would not like. I felt kind of bad because I have a rule. I do not take pictures with men. I do not post pictures with men. I do not post anything that
Huh.
I'm dating a guy. Nothing. Because I mean, you know how it is. I mean, once they see you with someone and be like, oh wait, this is. Oh, are you guys dating? Are you together? Then all the questions start. And then what if it doesn't work out? You know.
Huh. Interesting.
And so this guy, I mean, I would every time that I would see him. He, gosh, I'm not trying to get that personal, but so I mean, every time that I would go to his show, I would just not post like I never took a picture with him or anything, but I would post like, hey, you know what, I'm listening or I'm seeing live music here and there and so forth. So, but I try not to post nothing like, yeah.
Can you elaborate on that? Because I do the opposite, I think. And for good or for ill, I think in this past relationship, I haven't at all. But I have kind of gone overboard with posting
Okay, so
content that like demonstrates that I'm in a relationship.
no.
Like just because everything is public.
Okay, I understand.
So why not?
Because, okay, so knowing, like having a large following in social media, that means that you're basically telling the world, yes, you are in a relationship, but how do you know this relationship is going to work? And then how long do you wait? And do you really want everybody knowing that you've been with A, B, C, D, E, E? I mean, no. Unless it's serious, give it 6 months. 6 months to a year, then you post that you're in a relationship. But if you start posting everybody that you are with or you're dating or, hey, I got my first kiss.
Well, yeah, not like, yeah.
No. And it's just like.
Yeah, I was thinking more just like.
You're protecting your image.
Like a relationship, a serious relationship, and not just like you're on a date with someone.
Yeah, I mean, because I could post.
I wouldn't do that.
Like, I could, like, right now I'm like, the other day I posted a picture. The only man that I've actually posted a picture with has been my ex-husband and was talking about blended families. And I was explaining like, hey, I'm still co-parenting with him. He just came back from into the States after 5 years. So now he's back in the kid's life. That's the only picture I posted with my ex-husband. And after that, the only picture I post is with my brothers, my brother-in-law, or family. But nothing outside there, unless I'm in a group of friends, that's the only way I'll post it. Because then you'll have people that start like, oh, wait, you're dating this person, you're dating that person. And then you have a lot of people start questioning you. I don't know if you have the same issue with as you being a man, but I've had people on my Facebook asking me, oh, but you were dating so-and-so a few months ago. Oh, weren't you on a date? Weren't you here?
Oh.
And I don't like being questioned, actually.
Interesting. I bet there is some kind of gender specific bias about women like appearing, to be either appearing to be promiscuous or appearing to be flighty or, you know, anyway, I would only do it in the context of what I would consider to be a serious relationship, but that hasn't.
Yeah, because people change their status too. Be like, oh, in a relationship, great.
Yeah.
And then my husband's single, but I've had to hide my relationship status just because, not because I'm in a relationship, but because of the DMs, the request of constantly being asked out. Like, hey, when are we going on a date? Hey, do you want to go on a date? Hey, I mean, and I get lots and lots of DMs, and I'm like, I'm not doing this. So I just hide my relationship status, and then I just change it public later on.
That's very interesting. Yeah. And part of it was I felt like I needed. It was I don't know, this year-long relationship. It was maybe 9 months after I moved out from my marriage, but it was like less than a month after the paper was signed, you know? And I think part of it was like I turned to social media to prove to myself and other people that I was still lovable and like, look, I'm in a relationship now. I'm okay.
That would be considered a rebound.
I think part of that was like kind of self-medicating through social media to validate myself somehow.
But, so usually relationships, as me being divorced twice, usually that relationship after divorce, it's called a rebound.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because
it was more of a rebound than I realized at the time.
Because after I went through the divorce with my ex-husband, 2020, I dated someone for 9 months, and he's the one that would tell you he lived in Albuquerque. He was doing training. And I mean, we went back and forth. And I remember October 2020, he asked me, move to Japan with me. I'm like, no, I'm not moving to Japan. I'm like, I got my business in Georgia. I'm not moving to Japan. And he's like, Cindy, what are we doing here then? I'm like, we can still do a long distance relationship. And then I realized that, I mean, it was a painful breakup because after the divorce, you have that rebound, but the rebound breakup is more tougher than the actual divorce. And
isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Why is that?
I don't know, because you're probably like, you're in that marriage. And then when you go through the divorce, okay, I got over this guy, but then it actually hits you all together. Be like, oh my gosh, what the heck? Because you have expectations, you have that codependency, and that's where the attachment styles come in. You know, that attachment, you know, you have that, oh my gosh, what would you call that? Insecure attached. And it's just like, okay, what do I do? What do I do now? And all this, like, you're like, you want the whole world with them, but you're actually not really seeing that there and then. So then when it actually hits you, it's just like your whole world falls apart, including the freaking divorce. So that's where you have to start healing yourself and getting to know your self-worth.
Yeah. Yep.
So then, I mean, it's taken me a long time, but I mean, I'm ready. I'm single and ready to mingle. But it's but it's not like, hey, you know what? I'm like, now I'm happy by myself. I'm happy doing things on my own.
Right.
But it took me time to get there. And it's just like,
for sure.
It's just like, it's a healing process. It's not like, hey, when people tell me, oh, you know, I'm going through a divorce, I'm like, good luck with that. Take care. See ya. I mean, especially when you get on dating apps. Like I was talking to a guy the other day. He's like, hey, you know what? I'm going through a horrible divorce. I'm like, good luck with that. Nice to meet you, but you need healing, time to heal. And when you have people that,
for sure,
that they're breaking up or going through a breakup, it's just like, what are you actually looking for? And then they don't know what they want. And it's just like, are they at the same level that you want? But then again, it's just like the same level of commitment. So in this case, I want I want a long-term relationship. I don't want anything casual. I don't want anything that is going to be like temporary. No, look, if you want me, you're going to get the whole 10 yards, everything. You're going to get the full me, but I want a long-term committed relationship. If not, I'm just going to go ahead and keep on traveling the world.
Yeah. the hardest thing for me, and it took a while for me to realize this, about truly being alone after a divorce was like a literal identity crisis. I would drop off the kids with my ex and it would be my week without them. And I would come home to an empty apartment and I'm like, oh, I don't know who I am when I'm not a father or a husband. Like what, I got like my work and I have my friends and stuff, but like my identity for over a decade was so structured around those roles that once those roles were taken away from me or once I lost them, I was afraid that there's nothing inside. And so I had to learn who's in there. And I basically had to go through like a phase of like identity reconstruction, figure out who I am and like what I'm really passionate about, when I'm not being a kick-ass dad or, a caring partner, what makes me tick, that was the hardest part for me. I have a single parent question for you.
Go for it.
Do I get to ask a question?
Of course, you can ask me anything. I'm an open book.
What is your, and I've been talking about this with this woman I was dating, what is your policy on when you introduce your partner or someone you're dating to the kids?
6 months to a year.
Okay.
Because I don't want my kids to be exposed or be attached to that person unless I know it's serious and it's going somewhere. So usually what I do is when I date out of state. I don't, how do I say this? I don't eat where I shit. Because it's just like, I don't want anybody near my kids. I live in Atlanta. Leave me in Atlanta. If you're in Nashville, Tennessee, yes, you're in Nashville, Tennessee, but I'll be happy to meet you in Boston. I'll be happy to meet you in Ohio. I'll be happy to meet you in North Carolina. I'll be happy to meet you anywhere. Just don't come to my house. And if you come to my house,
that's very interesting.
My kids are not going to be around. I'm making sure that that's the months that they are with my parents in Puerto Rico, because I don't like, for the summers, they go with my parents. And for me, it's just like, that's so important because I'm being protected of my space. And like, yes, I do have guards, like I have walls, but I'm Mama Bear. Like, you do not meet my kids. You do not see my kids. You do not get to know nothing about my kids unless we are probably engaged. That is basically because then, and it's just like, for me, it's just like so important because you know how I know kids are resilient, but imagine if you were introducing every single woman that you met and you were going on a date.
Oh, for sure.
And then it just, like your world comes crumbling down, and imagine the kids. So I have a friend, I went to Iceland last year with him. It was a breakup trip. Not for me, for him. So I usually go on spontaneous trips with people that just go on breakups. So he's like, calls me.
You break up with them on the trip?
No, they break up with their girlfriends going on a trip. No, there's nothing between us. So.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So his girlfriend woke up with him on a Sunday, and he's like, calls me on a Monday. He's like, Sydney, do you want to go on a trip with me? I had no idea where this trip was going to go to. He's like, I'm like, where are we going? I asked him because I'm like, of course I'm going. Iceland. I'm in. Booked my ticket. We flew Friday. And he was telling me that this breakup, his daughter was so exposed to her because she had kids. They both had kids. And when they broke up, he was like, his daughter was crying in tears because she missed the little kids. And you see, that's heartbreaking. What are you going to do? Because it's just like, and I don't want my kids to go through that. I mean, they have a dad. Their dad is back in their life, but I honestly haven't really dated that much, to be honest with you. But I mean,
it makes things easier when you date people who don't live in your town also. I only ask because my rule so far, and again, I've only really been in 2 relationships of note where, well, that's not true. Or like, I wait for the kids to ask, but they're 13 and 16. And so, the first time around, I was with this woman for probably like 3 months, and like they knew that she existed. She didn't live in the same town, but they had heard me talk about her. And so eventually my daughter was like, so when do we get to meet her? I'm like, perfect. I'll set something up whenever you're ready. And so I take their lead. But the other, so this most recent relationship, the woman I was dating, her son found out because our sons are in the same class.
Oh.
And they found out either through him or like other mutual friends that like these two parents were dating. And yeah, it was not ideal. It was out of our control, but
yeah, I mean, I have a rule with that too. Like I don't date my kids' friends' parents or anything related with my kids. I don't.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
I implied a new rule. I do not date their parent, like even though like their friends, like uncle or like uncles or nothing, because that got me into a messy situation last time, and we were really good, and he basically ended things with me because his brother was going through a divorce with my girlfriend. And it was,
oh, I see.
And I'm like, great. So I'm like, yeah, no, we're not doing that again. So yeah, no, I don't. Mm-mm.
That totally makes sense because only like your circle of friends is what it is, and then if you if you eat where you shit, yeah. Then it's just dirty forever.
Yeah, and it's just like, yeah, no, I mean, yeah, and he's like, hey, can you keep this confidential? Can you talk? And I was like, look, I have to tell you something. Look,
right.
I'm a realtor, but I keep church and state separate. I am not anything that you tell me. Right. I am not going because I'm also selling their house, and I'm like. Yeah, so he found his brother, the guy that was dating found out that I was going to be selling their house. And I'm like, great. Cause I was doing like I was helping him buy a house too. And I'm like, great. I'm like, oh crap. I hope you didn't see that. He did see that. He did see that. Cause I was showing him something on my laptop. I'm like, great. Yeah. So that was the end of it. So I learned my lesson. I'm not doing that again.
Yep.
And then, then it comes like the whole thing with affidavits and then showing up on court. And I'm like, yeah, no. I mean, especially if it's messy divorces, you don't want any part of that. And then you know his whole family and you know her whole family. And it's just like, where does that leave you?
Oh yeah, yeah, for sure.
And then your kids,
and then
your kids are best friends with their kids, and it's just like, so mom, can I have a sleepover with them? Is your uncle and family gonna be there? Oh yeah, we're gonna have they invited us to the birthday party. Oh, nice. And then you'd be like, oh hi. So yeah, that's one of the reasons I implemented that rule. I do not date anybody in their class or nobody from school. Let's put it that way.
Interesting. Okay, what's next?
Okay, so then we talked about the dating. Okay, so what is this whole TikTok dating thing? Because you had mentioned about the whole like no contact and no contact
versus ghosting.
Yes, yeah. No contact versus ghosting. But then again, you're saying like people that are on dating apps, they forget about the dating apps and they get on TikTok because of their ex's no contact. We talked about this. I commented on your video. It was like the people that get on TikTok is because they have a no contact with their exes.
Oh, I see. What I meant was like half of the people who were talking about dating on TikTok are talking about how hard it was. They had to go no contact with their ex. And they're talking about how hard it is to do that, which it is. But the other half of the people who are talking about dating on TikTok are complaining about having been ghosted by their ex. When really it seems like when I listened to them, a lot of them, their ex had to go no contact because they were just their connection was too toxic. Some of them were legitimately ghosted, and so that has to do with like basically whether or not you're like, as we established earlier, going no contact is something that you sometimes do with an ex to maintain your sanity and your clarity, as opposed to ghosting, which is just like you're in a relationship with someone and it's not working, but you're not grown up enough to have the conversation, So it seems like there are two groups of people who are like in adjacent situations and they're complaining about each other.
Which is and then, okay, so then we have the no contact about like, hey, you know what? I don't want to talk to them because they are toxic. It's an unhealthy relationship. And they just drop the whole thing like They disappear out of the face of the world. But then that's the one that you're talking about.
Yeah.
But then,
Yeah. In my case, it was more just like I can't move on while I'm part of this dynamic, because as long as I'm in this dynamic and we're circling around each other, there's part of me that's holding out hope that something's going to happen between us, and I can't live like that. Like I can't grow and mature.
so
It's hindering my own growth.
So I have a say on this with exes. It's just like, do you take? I'm gonna question you on this. So do you
Okay.
take a shower and wear your own dirty underwear?
You mean, do I take a shower and like put the dirty underwear back
Yeah.
on? No. Why would I do that?
That's like going back with an ex. Think about that.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And
Yeah. People do it all the time. I talk about it in terms of movies. Like, I've seen this movie before. Do I want to pay to see it again? Like, I know how it ends. And I know exactly when 2 hours and 7 minutes in, it's going to end. I know that. And I know that, like, when the picture starts, that the man and the woman are going to they have to find each other, but they ride off in opposite directions, you know? But then there are people who just like, I will pay to see this movie over and over again. Like, why do you do that to yourself? You know?
But then again, it's just like they think that there's gonna, and I think it's because they feel comfortable, and it's just like the comfort thing is what brings them in, and it's just like, okay, so I want to date this person again. Let's see where it goes. But then, is it really going to change or not? You know?
Yeah.
And
yeah.
And it's about like second chances, and like, okay, look, I just put it as a graphic way. If you think there's going to be a second chance, are you willing to put back your dirty underwear after you take a shower?
Colorful, yeah.
I mean, unless you're going to put it inside out, but at the same time, it's going to stink, isn't it?
It's still dirty, yeah.
But it's still dirty.
You can pretend. You can pretend that it's clean, but it's not.
I mean, yeah, no.
Oh, shoot, I had another thought. What was it about exes? I think a lot of it has to do with like the comfort of familiarity. Like, this person isn't ideal, but it's familiar, and I know this dynamic. And it's like it beats being alone, I guess.
But then again, it's just like, where's your self-value?
Or they have some kind of trauma bond that's just like really unhealthy, and like just keep going back to that well and drinking that tainted water.
The codependency too. And then the attachment styles, I mean, it's just like, okay, so I need to be with someone. And then what is up with people that just have to be in a freaking relationship, jumping from one relationship to another all the time?
That was me. You're calling me out.
So
I didn't realize I was doing it at the time.
But
it's sort of like the rebound relationship I was telling you about. It's just sort of like, it was inconceivable to me that I could validate myself on my own. I really only felt validated if I was in some kind of romantic attachment, because for some reason, the way I came up, that was like the thing that gave me a sense of worth was that.
And I'm here like,
which is a shame.
My whole thing is just like, I've been single for 3 years, and I'm like, I don't need to be in a relationship. I'm fine by myself. So,
but
it took me a long time. But then again, it's just like, yeah, I would love to be in a relationship, but I know my self-worth. I know what I'm worth. I know what I bring to the table. But if you don't hit my standards, bye.
Yeah.
And people are not.
It took me a long time to get there. I'm just now getting there. And like, after kind of breaking up with this woman for like the third time, so that's not true. I was sort of in like a friends with benefits situationship for about 6 months last year, which again, I rebounded into that. And I knew like my standards were, my expectations, I should say, not my standards. My expectations were not high.
So
I just wanted like companionship, and I tried to make that clear. Anyway, so we broke up June, and then I started dating this woman that I met on Hinge in February. So that was the longest I've ever been single. Like, and so my therapist said, when's the last time you were single? And I was talking to him about how it was. And I was like, I want to say 1995, probably. Just like back-to-back relationships. And he's like, oh, you're a serial monogamist. That's your problem. Is that you can rebound into relationships automatically.
I just can't do that.
Like, there's no shortage of people who... it was super unhealthy. I did it for decades, obviously.
No, I was,
Where's the pity?
So this guy I was talking to, he wanted like a casual relationship. I'm like, no, not doing that. but I mean, okay, so you mentioned the friends with benefits. You said you were in 6 months with a situationship, right? My thing is,
Yeah.
but is it because you wanted the friends with benefits, or do you wanted something else? Were you looking for something serious, or were you okay with that friends with benefits, or were you lowering your standards?
I don't know if you know enough, seen enough of my. I don't know if you've seen enough of my content to know that I am not straight. I'm like straight with women, but I can have intimate relationships with men. So I'm pansexual, bisexual. I've been road testing those identities for a few years. So this was with a guy. This is my only polyamorous relationship. Also, this is with a guy who's in an open marriage, and we just had a great connection. He treated me really well. We had a fair amount in common, and we just had like a great time together. And that's really all I was in it for, you know. We like the same kinds of movies, and so we would cuddle to watch movies. We'd go out on dates, yada yada. But then he caught feels for me, and things became complicated. And I realized that he was in this relationship with me to avoid being in his marriage, and he was with me more than he was with his husband. And then once I told him I couldn't reflect back his feelings for me, then he became really jealous and possessive and manipulative and controlling. I'm like, I'm not here for any of this, you know? So I broke up with him, and he divorced his husband, and he moved to another state.
He might have.
But I was like, he was like, sort of like, well, what's the song? Bob Dylan says, like, I helped him out of a jam, I guess, but I used a little too much force.
I was like, I'm like, geez.
He got out of the jam and went all the way to Oregon. Yeah.
I mean, it's a few states away.
And so I was on a date in January with a woman who, again, she found me on TikTok and hit me up. And this was years ago. This was like 2020. Like we worked in a similar field, and she actually contacted people I worked with to sort of vet me through them to see like what's up with Blake. We met, there wasn't like a ton of chemistry at the time, but then I met this other woman, and I ended up being in a relationship with her for a year. Anyway, I was in her town in January, and like I forget if I asked her out, she asked me out. I think she knew I was in town and she asked me out. And again, kind of like strung along for a while. And then she established that like she has a love of her life, but he is in Europe. He's stationed in Europe. And like that's what she's committed to. But would I be interested in a friends with benefit situation? And again, I was like, no, because it's just, I don't know. My expectations, I think, are higher now for what I'm interested in and what I can commit to. Like sex is not hard to find, you know, sex is pretty easy to come by. And so I don't want to get in and have that turn into an entanglement, you know. There's too much downside for me. That's where I am currently anyway.
So with sex, for me, it's just like, and this is what I was telling my girlfriend earlier, it's like, if I don't see something serious with something, I will not kiss them and I will not sleep with them. And she's like, why won't you? Because then you have the emotional part and the intimate part, and you're sharing yourself with someone else. But then again, this is the thing. It's just like having the intimate side and the emotional side, that's going to cost you heartbreak. It's not about the heartbreak part, but it's like, are you willing to go through that just because you just want to experiment or you just want to lower your standards? I mean, and for me, it's just like, I'd rather wait. I'd rather look. If I'm talking to someone, look, I'll talk to you all day long. We'll have fun and all that, but I'm not going to kiss you, and I'm not going to let you kiss me, and I'm not going to be intimate with you. And I'm like, honestly, I'm fine playing with myself all day long. And it's just like, because
no one does it better than me.
Because it's just
I've
like
been dating myself longer than anyone else.
I mean, it's not because I'm being selfish, but I know my worth, and I'd rather wait for someone that I'm going to be able to give myself completely versus just going ahead and just lowering my standards and be like, hey, do you want a one night stand? I mean, you're right. Sex can be found anywhere and it's easy to come by, but it's just like, how am I willing to lower my standards? Is this going to be something that is going to be worth my time? Is this going to be worth my bodily
Yeah.
fluids? And is it going to be something that I deserve and I want?
Is it worth my secretions? I don't know.
Well,
That's a good way of putting it. Yeah.
and
Like one night stands for me are not, I don't know. They don't seem as problematic to me as long as you're safe and clear and consensual and everything. But it's so like emotionally, it seems like low risk. It's like the ongoing friends with benefits entanglement situationship thing, because you're both just marking time until something better comes along, which means you're setting yourself up for pain. Even if you tell yourself you're not like in love with this person, you're at least attracted to them, right? You must be ipso facto by the fact that you're having sex with them. So why would you put yourself in that position? And also, why would you settle?
yeah.
Because that's what you're talking about, is settling.
And I don't want to settle. And that's why I've been single for 3 years, and I'm just in the waiting game. And
Yeah.
the right person will so I actually had a dating coach 2 years ago, back in 2021, and she has like a 90-day rule. So the 90-day rule, you don't get emotional.
Interesting.
You don't get emotional with them. You don't kiss them. You don't have sex. Because once you think about this, when you kiss someone, what happens? You get emotions. And then it starts blinding you and starts fogging your sense of feelings. And you're not focused anymore on the person. You're focused on the intimacy, on the, hey, I want to be in.
Oh.
Yeah. And then once you get into that intimate side of things, then you're actually learning more about that person, but it's on the sexual level. So you forget about like getting to know them, what their likes are and all that. And why do relationships fail? Because you don't get to know them deep, because you have sex involved in there. So once you meet the person,
Right.
Be like, hey, let's go ahead and have sex. And that's the thing. It's like if you have that 90-day mark, you can be like, you know what, this person is worth it. Nah, this person is not worth it. And some people would say,
interesting,
I'm not going to be with this person intimately, but then and I've told this to the people that I talk to, like, look, I'm not going to be with you intimate. I'm not going to kiss you. Don't expect nothing from me. If you like me, fine. If you don't like me, then fine. Because I mean, I can be myself. If I can't be myself during those 90 days and you cannot put up with me, then why am I going to be even intimate? And why will I lower my standards?
That's very wise. I was talking with this couple, friends of mine, and they are together. And they were talking about, and this is after I met this Hindu woman, and I was talking about like, I'm really excited about this relationship, and I don't know what I'm doing. And they're like, of course you don't, because no one knows what they're doing at the beginning of a relationship. But they gave me some advice, which was very good. And they said, don't get sexual too early. And I said, why is that? Because I tend to. And they said, and they were very like thoughtful and methodical about this in their relationship. I forget how long they waited. But they said, like, we had to teach each other. We had to experience all these other different kinds of intimacy with each other and teach each other that, like, you could be safe and feel seen and be vulnerable with this person in all these other contexts. And if you become sexual with someone right away, then you proceed in that relationship thinking that sex is like the main, if not the only form of intimacy that you share. So they wanted to share all these other kinds of like having deep conversations and experiencing things together, or like, you know, doing something physical that's not sexual together, like taking a yoga class or like a, you know, breathworks class or something. And have those kinds of experiences together so that they, you know, they could redefine what intimacy was. So like sex is a part of it, but it's not definitionally, they're not the same thing. You know what I mean? I thought that was very wise. And I've been looking back, I've been in relationships where like that was the only thing we had was like that kind of chemical connection. And so I mistook that for love or affection. And you know,
and that's the thing. It's just like, why jump? Okay, so if you have the opportunity, think about this way. If you have the opportunity to meet the person that you're going to spend your life with, right? And not have 90 days, not have like having that 90-day rule. Would it be worth the wait for 90 days and be able to spend the rest of your life with that person? and get to know them during that
Yeah.
time, or just having sex now and then just keep on jumping from relationship to relationship and not getting to know that person intimately deep.
I'm going to think about that. That's very interesting. So does it work for you? The 90-day thing?
Yeah. I mean, nobody has stuck around so far yet.
Oh, interesting. I kind of wondered, like, are there a lot of men out there that would wait that long? I don't know.
It's going to,
Maybe that's a stereotype on my end that like men are more anxious to get there. I don't know.
I mean, I guess in some people will just wait and just be like, hey, you know what? I just did it for the 90 days. I fucked you and I'm just going to move forward. I mean, and you know, I mean, some people are patient, some people are not. But then do you know your self-worth is going to come down to? And that's really important.
Yeah. Do we have time for one more question?
Of course.
Do you believe in forever people?
I think we have different soulmates. But there is like, going through my divorce, I went through past life regressions. I don't know if you believe in reincarnation and all that. I read a lot. I'm a nerd.
I don't know much about it.
So you should read this book called Brian Weiss, Only Love is Real. It's an amazing book. And I believe that we do meet that person that we're going to spend for the rest of our lives, but it's going to it takes us through, you know, we have one person that we meet now. It's just like people come in for a reason, season, and a lifetime. We have 3 type of people. And whatever experience we go through life is what's going to help us evolve and become that person that we need to when we meet that person to actually sustain and be able to be with them for a lifetime.
Reason, a season, and a lifetime. So you're saying, yes, you do believe in forever people.
Yes.
But there could be multiple people, not just like a single person that you have to magically find somehow.
Yes. Some people are lucky to meet, you know, like I was talking to this lady earlier. She's like, I've been married for 56 years. And those are the lucky ones.
Wow.
And I'm like, I would do anything to have had that. And I've seen people that they've been together since high school and, you know, they've been over 20 years together. But during that time, they actually broke up and they came back together. So
interesting.
But yes, we do have a forever person. But it's going to keep this in mind that people that we meet, we choose our partners, but we also need to choose to make it work. Because lifetime partners are made. They're not like, are you willing to put the work? Are you willing to do the work? Are you willing to do what it takes to make things work? Are you both there? So Jay Shetty has this new book. I think it's eight Rules of Loves.
Oh, I've heard of that. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a really, really good book. Really, really good book. Like I said, I'm a nerd. So he talks about like partnership, but it's just like we choose the people that we want to spend. Like we choose our people that we want to spend our lives with, but we choose to make it work. So how much work are you willing to do? How much work are you willing to put in? Because like nowadays we have people that just give up automatically and say, hey, you know what?
Yeah.
I'm done. I'm not going to do anything. We're good.
Yep. I ask because I don't have an answer to that question. This woman that I've been dating and I talked about it, and I said, I don't know if I believe in forever people anymore. And she said, people who've been divorced usually don't.
But I mean, keep in mind that every single divorce is an experience, and they make us stronger. They make us who we are today. Because if it wasn't for that, then who would you be without that divorce?
Oh yeah, I have zero interest in going back to being that person. I'm a fundamentally different person than when I was married. Much healthier and happier and self-aware.
And I believe that every like I've been divorced twice, and it's just like it's made me not a perfect person. Nobody's perfect, by the way. I'm not saying I'm perfect. Well, I'm perfectly beautiful. But in this case, it's just like it's made me the person who I am. It's made me stronger. It's made me, push through all obstacles regardless. Because if it wasn't for that, then I would be a dependent stay-at-home mom,
Yeah.
being held by
Yeah.
things
It's
that
true.
I, you know, like right now, nobody can tell me, hey, don't do that. Like, great. You tell me what to do. Bye. And that's another thing. Like, I want to live
Yeah.
life because I have this way of living life. Life is too short to miss out on opportunities because you never know when it's coming back or what are you going to be able to do.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I think a lot of this could also be a generational thing, but I think a lot of men, especially like my age, don't understand that women don't need men. I think that a lot of men think that women are afraid of being alone, that they're going to die in their apartment with their cats or something. And like, at someone like that's an insult. I'm more of a dog person myself.
I believe that. I
Um,
think you're right on that too, because it's just like a lot of people don't understand that, it's just like, I don't need a man. And this is like the guy I was talking to. Um, it's not
right.
that I don't need a man. I want a man that I can enjoy life with. I want to, and don't get me wrong. It doesn't mean that I want to enjoy life by myself, but I want that companionship. I want to be able to help someone, you know, help them grow their dreams, support them in all ways. It's not like, hey, you know what, I need a man to pay my bills. I mean, do you want to be my daddy? I mean, like, no, but not in that case. It's
Right.
just like,
Yeah.
it's more like, hey, I want that companionship. I want someone that I can cuddle with because you always need
Right.
that physical touch. You need that conversation to be like, hey, pick up the phone, like, hey, what are you doing today? I miss you. And who doesn't love affection? Who doesn't love being loved? You know? But
Yeah.
it doesn't mean that I need a man to pay my bills because I'm so self-sustainable. I take care of myself. I don't need that.
Yeah.
And people get confused
I
about,
think, right.
go ahead.
I think that, again, it's going to be a generational thing, but like women, at least my age, and the ones who are like really self-possessed and have done the work, if they're with a man, they're with a man because they want to be with him and not because they need to be with him. Like those women are, again, they're my age, say they're in their 40s or 50s, they've been divorced, literally half their lives have been spent being told what to do by men, and they are over it. They just want to do their own thing now, build their own careers, pursue their own passions, and like if they can find a guy who's willing to go along that ride, then come aboard. You know, um, but they don't need a partner. They don't need a passenger to do that with them.
And that's my problem. It's just like some men find me intimidating. It's like even my girlfriend told me like, "Wow, you intimidate the crap out of men," because I'm a doer. You tell me you want to go to freaking Tahiti, I will tell you, let's go, let's do it. And it's just like, wait, what? Yeah, I don't like 2 years ago, my girlfriend was telling me, hey, you know what? I want to go to Greece. I kid you not, within 5 minutes, I was already booking my trip. And we were like, and I'm like, you
Nice.
cannot, this is the thing, you cannot tell me something because I will make it happen. And that's what men are afraid of. It's just like, wait, she does this just because I don't ask for permission. I mean, look, if you want to go to the end of the world, I will help you go to the end of the world. If that's your goal, let's do it. And I will be by your side. But some men take it in a different way as she's freaking crazy. No, I'm not. You,
Is that really? I don't think that's it.
what is it then? Tell me.
I think what like I dated a woman who said that men found her intimidating, and I didn't find her intimidating in the least. I think what men were intimidated by is also what I was attracted to, which was that like she knew herself inside and out, was really self-possessed, and like knew what she wanted. She was self-aware, and she was also capable of like pursuing those goals that she had for herself. Maybe what men find intimidating about you is that like you could decide, I want to go to Greece, and then you go, and they aren't the ones that make the decision or make the plan. You do. And maybe that's what they find intimidating.
I don't know. I mean, it's just, I don't know. And then it's just like, hey, is she making more than me? That's also the financial portion too.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
So then now that we're on the topic is, would you be intimidated by a woman that makes more than you?
No, that's my situation right now. Yeah, she runs her own business and she makes good money. And she actually is trying to work less and she's willing to make less money just because she's overscheduled. But yeah, it doesn't bother me.
But then again, so then do you think this has to do with, because you're a little bit older than I am. So do you think this because you're in the 50s and you understand that and you're a more mature man, then that actually helps you versus someone that's going to be in the 30s?
I've never been called mature. Thank you.
Be like,
maybe with a capital M, mature.
Mature.
Yeah.
Like, I like this podcast so far. So then that's the whole thing. Is it because you're mature, you're in your 50s, and you've been through more life experiences versus a 30-year-old and a 40-year-old?
I mean, it could be. I think it has more to do with the fact that I parted ways long ago with traditional models of masculinity, most of which are toxic. And part of that, I think, was my coming out process also, and just realizing that, like, I think alpha, whatever it is, bullshit. And actually probably is a sign of weakness and insecurity more than anything else. And so, for example, I take great pleasure in like planning dates for women. And I put a lot of thought into like, what are our mutual interests? What will be fun for them to do? What will be fun for us to do together? How can we get to learn more about each other? But I do that not because it's like a gender role thing, but because I personally take a lot of pleasure in it.
But now that you talk about dating, it's just like, okay, so let's grab coffee. Or, a lot of men don't put that much detail on it at all.
Right. Oh, yeah. And so women are blown away when like I have a three-pronged approach to the date. Like there are 3 steps. And then after every step, I'm going to ask you if you want to go on to the next step. So the first thing was like elevated tacos, at this like unusually good Mexican restaurant from Montana because there's not a lot of good Mexican food here. And then she said in her Hinge profile that she likes board game night at the bar. And so I said, if you want to go to the next step, there's a bag in the back seat and check it out. And I could put all the kids' board games in the bag. And I'm like, if you want to go to the bar and play one of these games, you can do that. And we ended up playing chess until they closed the bar.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I guess there was no part 3 for that night, and then she would do the same thing. And like, she would ask me out on a date and then she'd say, okay, here's the plan for tonight. It was really fun. As opposed to, like grab coffee. What does that even mean?
But it's just like, I was talking to this guy.
A vibe check. That's more like a vibe check. That's not a date,
So I was talking to this guy and he was telling me about this, like, hey, you know what? Because I'm like, why don't you approach people like in person? And he's like, because I can't read their profile. So it's just like, hey, you know what? If I read your profile on a dating app, then I can actually see that, hey, you know what? I know what I'm getting myself into, what I can start a conversation versus going into that, hey, I'm actually going into, I can't meet up with you. Or I cannot talk to you because you're just a person without me reading a profile right now.
Yeah. Well, I guess, then there's the talking phase. So like the woman I've been seeing recently, we talked for, what did I say, 5 days probably? Yeah. But it was like every day. And it was like heavy, deep, real stuff. Again, she's a therapist. And so, we talk about attachment styles and like, what are you really looking for? If you say you want a healing relationship, what does healing look like in a relationship? We sort of like got there pretty quickly. And so by the time we met, we had passed the vibe check part already,
So did you FaceTime or did you guys talk on the phone?
We talked through Hinge.
Oh, okay.
And then I think, and then we swapped phone numbers and we texted. Yeah, but I didn't see her in person until our first date.
Interesting.
So
Because
we talked for like 5 days, probably texted for 2 days.
what I like doing is I'm a video person. When I'm on dating apps, I like to send videos and I like them to send me videos too, because that way I can know, hey, you know what, feel the vibe, know if it's worth my time or not, and FaceTime, which is, I think Hinge has it. I'm not on Hinge. I'm right now on Bumble. That you can actually video chat.
I can't remember if Hinge does or not.
You gotta check it. You gotta check it out. I think Hinge does have video. But can you send videos on Hinge? Now you got me thinking. I don't know. I know Bumble does. And you can FaceTime or you can video chat. Video.
I have deleted the apps because of this relationship. And even like, I think this relationship, like I said, is probably not built to last just because we're not on the same commitment path. But even then, I'm just going to stay off the apps I'm just going to sit on this experience and draw lessons from it. And then in a couple of months, I may or may not go back to them.
I'm just gonna delete it after my trip because I'm just there to just meet people. I'm not there for hookups or anything. But honestly, I'm not like right now I have so many notifications that I'm not even paying attention to them. I don't care about apps. I want to meet people organically. The way I meet people organically is TikTok.
Yeah.
Slide into people's DMs.
Is that organic? I don't know.
I don't know. Would you consider that?
Yeah.
I would say like Delta Lounge, traveling, sitting by someone else's side, and just starting a conversation. Like I was telling my girlfriend earlier, I'm like, hey, okay, you know what? If I see a cute guy without a ring, I'll be like, hey, so where are you traveling today? Did you see the coffee over there? Oh my gosh, that coffee is horrible. I mean, I just start stuff like that. Oh, grocery stores is like, hey, do you think peaches goes on lasagna? If I'm in the cheese aisle, it depends on what aisle I am. Like, hey, do you know anything about grilling? I don't know. I'm buying the steak, but I don't know. Do you think this is the best steak to grill? Just starting up conversations. Even though I've
Oh yeah. Yeah. I do some acting and I've met people on set where like one of us would ask the other, can I have your socials just so I could, let you know if there are any auditions that you might be a good fit for? And then we end up chatting on I couldn't be more active. It's just, why is it so hard to meet people in person?
So what? But my question is,
I'm part of like social groups. I have lots of friends. I do things.
Maybe your person is not in Montana. What part of Montana are you from?
Yeah, maybe not. I'm in Missoula in Western Montana.
Okay.
College town.
I'm very familiar with it. No, I mean, probably your person's not there. Probably it's somewhere else in another state. But I don't know.
Yeah.
That's really interesting. I really like all the topics we talked about today. Completely.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it helps me to talk about these things because I learn more about myself.
No, definitely. I mean, and do you have
by thinking about these things out loud?
So do you have like a whole thing of what do you want? What are you looking for in a relationship?
Oh, in a relationship.
Oh my gosh. Let me see.
Like long-term, commitment-oriented.
Okay. I just thought about this book completely. You gotta read this book.
The Soulmate Secret. Oh, I'm getting a lot of good leads from this. I'm gonna write this down too.
Okay,
what's that about?
The Soulmate Secret is just finding that, manifesting the love of your life with a law of attraction. I don't know if you believe in the law of attraction.
Oh.
It's with Aurelie Ford.
It's something I hear about on TikTok, but I don't really know what it means. Or manifesting. Manifesting to me means it's like you wish for something and then you hope that the genie gives you your wish. I don't know what manifesting is.
It's just like, so manifestation is like you want something, but you keep on saying like, it's going to happen. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. And it happens, or it happened. I have 25 clients looking for $1 million houses, and I'm going to have it. And it's just like, it's like having your positive, like your vibe has to be very positive and very high energy. Like, let's say, for instance, like just like you wake up in the morning, like, good morning, beautiful people. And today I'm going to have a wonderful day and somebody's going to take me for lunch and I'm not going to have to pay. Yes. And then ring, ring, hey, do you want to grab lunch? Yeah, I'm in. So that's that. You see what I'm doing? So that's basically like manifesting, like the law of attraction. Like, hey, I'm going to meet this hot guy today and he's going to be amazing. And guess what? We're going to click and we're going to travel. And he's going to have blue eyes. You know, that's manifestation.
Mr. Sandman. Yeah. So like you're not just sitting passively waiting for something to happen, but you're like going out to meet it.
Yes.
That's what it sounds like.
Or, you know what? Sometimes it happens through social media. It happens with a phone call. It happens through mutual friends. It happens you're eating at a bar and you meet these people, which is pretty awesome.
Yeah. I guess I have an answer. So you're asking me like what I'm looking for in a relationship.
So
with
this book is going to tell you to make a list of everything you want. You have to write it down. Everything that you're looking in your perfect partner.
I see.
And it's just like, it will tell you so many things. It's an amazing read. But read first.
Huh. Okay.
Read first. Only.
So you're talking about, I mean, those are two different things though. What am I looking for in a partner versus what am I looking for in a relationship?
Yes. But then again, how would you like to, what do you want to feel like in a relationship? How do you want to be treated when you come home? Be like, hey baby, I can't wait to see you. Like that. Or, you know what? No, that's a little bit too much. I don't want that. I want someone to be like, hey, what's up? Or, hey, what do you want to eat tonight besides me? So
I have this written down and it's
so stuff like that. So what do you actually
I have like affirmations that are written down. And then I have like affirmations I've written down, but just sort of to remind myself to keep myself in check mental health wise. And then I have another list of things that I'm looking for in a relationship. And if it doesn't have these things, then I'm spinning my wheels, like I'm wasting my time. The first thing is feeling safe with this person in every sense of the word. Usually like safe in that, like safe enough that I could be vulnerable with this person. And this person can not only witness, but really honor my vulnerability. Which takes a while to get there. So not off the bat, but like they have to be able to create a sense of safety around them. And also feeling seen is another thing that's a requirement for me, which is just sort of like I can be 100% my authentic self and I don't feel judged or I don't feel like you're looking at some hypothetical version of me that you wish I was, that like you get who's sitting in front of you and you want the whole package. And then the other two things are, so that's kind of like the what. And then there's the how. And the how for me is stability and consistency. And those are the two things I've had the most problems with in the relationship is like, do your words match your actions? Are you consistent that way? And like life is difficult and things are going to come up, but can you navigate those things so that the relationship stays stable, even when one of us is not necessarily stable, because none of us is stable all the time? You know, I've had too many conversations. I've been in too many relationships where the person has said, like, I don't know how to find myself without losing you, which is their way of saying that, like, they discovered they have a lot of work to do.
Red flag.
And they need to do it on their own. I'm like, well, we should have had that conversation 6 months ago, you know?
So in this case, I'm going to ask you a few more questions. And I know I'm taking a little bit longer. Just let me know if I'm taking too much of your time. So here's like being seen is how do you want to be seen? How do you want to feel safe? You got to be more detailed to this. So stability and consistency, believe me, that is something hard to find. It's like you start texting someone, but then again, it's just like they're not consistent. They're not, their words do not match their actions. They can tell you unicorns and rainbows all day long, but what is up with the consistency with people nowadays?
I don't know. I think a lot of it is, are they talking to other people on the apps? I keep having to move because the sun is moving. Are they talking to other people? And so, like, are they stringing me along and keeping me around as an option? And so that's why they're inconsistent. because they're being equally inconsistent with a bunch of other people.
So
and maybe that's just part and parcel of being on the apps. I don't know.
So
I usually don't. So like I just reached a point quickly with this woman after first or second date. Probably was no more like a second or third date. We realized that like we had a connection and I wanted to explore that. So I went back to the other people I was talking to on the apps and I'm like, here's what's up. There's something I think is really interesting. I'm going to see where it goes in a sense of clarity for all of us. I'm going to leave the app. I'm going to pursue this and then maybe we may or may not connect again later on. We'll see what happens. And they're like, thanks. That's very courteous of you to let me know. Instead of just like leaving them on red permanently.
That's really nice of you, though.
And she did the same thing. She told me that she did.
So
we were transparent about the fact that we had been talking with multiple people at first, and then we both came to each other and said, we have tied off those conversations for now to see where this goes.
So now my question is, when do you actually let the other people know that you're actually dating other people or you're talking to other people?
When do you I see. Like when you're dating, I see.
Because if you're dating multiple people, right? Then how are you actually when do you actually let the other people know that you're actually dating other people or you're talking to other people? When do you bring that up?
I don't know that I have I don't know that I've dated multiple people at a time. I'm trying to think if I've done that. I don't think so. Like, I went through a string there over the winter where, like, I would go on a date with one person, and I'm like, hey, that was fun, let's do it again. But then I'd never hear back from them, and I wouldn't follow up with them. Then I'd do it with another person, and the same thing would happen. So I never got it to second date with most people. Yeah, I don't think I've done that.
Okay. Yeah, I don't.
It sounds exhausting.
I just
it really does.
Date one person and that's it, and then just disappear, and then I just get focused on my own little world. That's it. I'm not really interested in dating.
That's what it takes.
Put it that way. It's just like if you don't capture my attention, then there's nothing to look for there. I mean, because you're gonna waste my time. You're gonna waste my time, my money, and why would I waste my time with someone that is not? that is not filling everything in my list. I mean, it doesn't have to be everything on my list because I do have a long list, but I don't want to settle. I don't want to put effort into something that is not meeting my standards.
For sure.
And that...
Again, why settle?
Yeah.
Why would you sell yourself short that way?
You don't want to do that. Yeah.
Okay, do we have time for one more question?
Yeah.
It's 12:30 over here.
Yeah, tell me.
Oh, I don't have any. I thought you had one.
Okay. Wait, what other question do you have? I don't think I have any other questions or anything. It's been a really good...
Okay.
We've talked a lot about different subjects and all that, and especially like mental health, knowing yourself, the inconsistency, the no contact, the ghosting, and knowing your self-worth, like when to walk away. I mean, is that person meeting your standards or not? And are you really conscious of that?
Yeah.
So, but
very enlightening conversation. Thanks a lot for inviting me on.
You're welcome. Thank you for coming on. All right.
Let's do it again sometime.
No, definitely. All right. All right, guys. So this is a Blake. I had Blake de Pastino, right? Am I saying it correctly?
Yeah.
And he's on TikTok. What is your TikTok handler?
My handle is Western Digs, Digs. It's the name of a blog I used to run about archaeology and paleontology because I'm a weapons grade nerd.
Nice.
And that's my handle on TikTok and Insta and Twitter. I'm not on Twitter very much.
Okay.
But all my socials is Western Digs.
So now I'm going to question you. So I'm assuming you know a little bit of Teddy Roosevelt because you're in Montana?
Not really. Although he still was North Dakota. He said he used to live in North Dakota.
Yeah.
And that's where he used to go hunting.
I thought he was also part of Medora. Like Medora. Wait, isn't Medora part of? No, wait, that's in Badlands. Now you got me thinking.
I think that's the Dakotas. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, guys. So I have Blake de Pastino, and he just check him out on TikTok and Instagram. He's amazing. So till next time, have a beautiful day.